fam, thanks again for joining us. This is the second video of our 4-video series. So today we're gonna go over the olay. This is gonna be amazing for building up that core strength and shoulder stability. So let's do this.
The next movement we're gonna look at is the olay, and we're gonna look at 3 different variations of this. So variation 1 is just gonna be the original olay, but we'll call it the sweeping olay. So now, rather than starting in a cat, we're gonna start in a squat position. You could think of this as kind of like a low cartwheel. So Mercedes is gonna turn her hands whichever direction she wants to go. Yep. And notice how she's side flexing over and not necessarily just rotating around. Yep. So as if she's gonna go for that cartwheel, sideways, hands find the ground. And now she's gonna take this left leg and she's gonna lightly sweep it, keeping it in contact with the ground. Pulls it slightly back in, good, shifts her weight, and sweeps the second leg. Pulls it back in, finishes in a squat. Awesome. Going the other way, weight shifts into the hands, sweeps, weight shifts, and sweeps. So the nice part about this is really thinking of keeping a light contact with the leg that's sweeping the ground, or with that foot, I should say. And that moment in the middle, I'm gonna have Mercedes pause on the next one. So she's lightly sweeping and pause. So notice everything's in balance. At no point in this is she just chucking herself across. Go ahead, weight shifts, and now she can sweep out. So I think of this as a super well-controlled cartwheel where Mercedes can pause at any point that she wants and is still in control. Awesome. So something else that we can do with this olay, right now, Mercedes was kind of moving in a straight line. Totally cool. Now she's gonna move in a slight circle around the room. Sweeps, sweeps, good. Sweeps, sweep. Sweep, sweep, sweep. Awesome. So having just this general pattern, hand, hand, foot, foot, is great, but it can kind of be stretched and modified so that just like with the cat patterns, you can explore the space in different ways, and it doesn't need to just be this linear kind of motion through the space. So the second variation of the olay, instead of the sweeping, this time we're gonna do the floating olay. So here it is. And then we'll have Mercedes go through it. So same position with the arms you did before, side flexing over like you're going for the cartwheel. And now we just add in a little floating hop. So with this, there's gonna be this compression with the core, pressing hard with those arms to hold you up. And instead of having the sweep with the feet on the ground, you're gonna leave the ground, but just a little bit. So just disconnecting, seeing if you can almost pause, yeah, and having this little slow motion moment in the middle. Great. So the third variation working out of this olay is going to be working towards a cartwheel with a slight caveat. If you can't yet cartwheel, you're gonna be able to use this to progress up to a cartwheel. So starting in the squat, thinking of just like we did with the floating olay, but now the feet just float a bit higher. Whee! So you don't have to commit yet to those legs being straight over the top, but think about that floating olay as just getting a bit higher each time with the legs. As you're feeling more confident and kind of your shoulders holding you, you're starting to feel the balance. You can start to work more over the top, trying to get these hips above your shoulders. Starting in the squat, finishing in the squat. Very nice. So now we're just gonna do a small sequence with these 3 different variations of the olay. And you could think of this as just A plus B plus C. So if we were to call the sweeping olay A, the floating olay B, the cartwheel olay C, we're just gonna have Mercedes do all 3 in a row so you can kind of see the different level changes. Cool. Sweeping olay, finishes in the squat, goes right to a floating olay. Very nice. And coming back, cartwheel olay. Sweeping, floating, and cartwheel. Awesome. Depending on your space, you may need to alternate sides. So as you notice, sometimes Mercedes olay to the left, floating olay to the right, cartwheel to the left. Think of all these moves as you actually got 2 moves. You got to the right and to the left. So 3 moves times 2, 6 different ways to combine these patterns together. So now we're gonna use these 3 variations of olay, but instead of keeping them in the order of A plus B plus C, or sweep, float, cartwheel, Mercedes is gonna go in any order she wants between those 3 variations. So if she wants to olay 6 times in a row, great. You forget what you're doing, you just go back to the cartwheel, awesome. But now you have the ability to kind of repeat yourself if you want, change directions, and just play within the system of these 3 movements. Ready?
Yeah.
Show me what you got.
Yeah.
Sweep, sweep, float, cartwheel, nice. Notice too how she's exploring the space, not just moving back and forth on a line. Great. Good. So when you're practicing these moves, it's very beneficial to actually kind of use the environment to your advantage to be more creative. So if you're in a small living room space, how can you use these moves to move around the living room? If you're outside of the park, great, you have all the room in the world. But you can also add in a living element. So practicing this with your friends, seeing if you guys can also share the space and be able to almost have a dialogue using these moves, figuring out where's the empty space in the room, how can we kind of both do this at the same time and have that bring out more creativity rather than thinking of it as an obstacle. So, shall we try?
Thanks again for joining us. So you just learned the olay and its variations. Join us again for the next couple of videos. We're gonna go through even more movements and how to piece these together. So if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.